What's going on? My name is Russ Hawkins and I'm an athletic restoration coach. And what I'm making here is a question that nobody probably asks. Why did your quadratus laborum, your QL, shut down? And if you've had low back pain or a tight QL for more than 6 months, I want to ask you something that probably someone has never asked you. Why did it shut down in the first place? Not how to stretch it, not how to strengthen it. Why did your body decide that the muscle needed to be locked down? Because the answer isn't really in your low back. It started above your waist, and I'm going to show you exactly where. And what we're building today, this is a shutdown cascade. So 4 structures, 1 trigger. And if you've been treating the bottom of this chain, you've been working backwards this entire time. Now, one thing I want you to understand is that stretching your QL, quadratus laborum, is like turning off the fire alarm instead of putting out the fire. The alarm is your low back. The fire is all the way up here at your diaphragm, so your lower rib cage and rib cage, and your psoas. And let me show you why. So the shutdown cascade over here. First things first, the diaphragm. Your diaphragm isn't just a breathing muscle. It's a stability anchor. It attaches to your spine at T12 to L2, right where your QL originates. And when the nervous system detects a threat, chronic stress, an old injury, poor sleep, your diaphragm locks up. It stops moving through its full range of motion. When the diaphragm locks, your body has to find stability somewhere else, and the first place that it grabs is the psoas. If you've been a high output athlete for years, heavy lifting, high stress, poor recovery, your diaphragm has probably been in partial lockdown for a very long time. So you didn't just feel it until your QL gave out. Now, the psoas. It does 2 things. It flexes your hip and stabilizes your lumbar spine. When the diaphragm stops doing its job, the psoas tries to take over on stability. But the psoas is now overloaded. So it's doing 2 jobs, so it shortens. And when the psoas shortens, it pulls from the front of your hip down, creating an anterior pelvic tilt like you see in this photo next to here. Now your body, what happens next is looking for something to counterbalance that pull from the front. And the QL sitting right there on the backside of your spine gets recruited to hold you upright. And the QL didn't really volunteer for this, right? It got chosen. It's holding tension that should have never been its job in the first place. And that is why stretching doesn't work. That is why you're releasing a muscle during stretching that your nervous system is actually actively recruiting for a reason. The second you stop stretching, it snaps back into that pattern of pain, the hamster wheel effect. So we got to reset that pattern. Now, what we're going to do, we're going to talk about what you've probably tried in the past before and understanding why that doesn't work. So let's talk about it. Number 1, you stretch the QL. We just covered this. You're releasing a muscle. Your nervous system is contracting intentionally. So it comes back every time after you stretch. Number 2, you're strengthening the core. Generic core work like planks, dead bugs, bird dogs, they don't address the diaphragm or the psoas. So you're adding load to a system that's already compensating. Sometimes it makes it worse. Number 3, rest. If the trigger is a threat response in your nervous system, rest doesn't really resolve the threat. It just pauses the output. So you come back to training and what you find yourself in, pain, 2 weeks into that pattern. None of these are wrong ideas. They're just aimed at the wrong address, okay? Now, we're going to go over what the actual restart sequence looks like, okay? So there are 3 steps and why this order is super important. So number 1, you send a safety signal to the QL. It's not a stretch. It's a loaded isometric. We want to teach the nervous system that this muscle is safe to release, not force it to release. Step 2, you restore psoas length under load. A controlled split squat with a posterior pelvic tilt cue, not a hip flexor stretch, a loaded lengthening. There's a big difference when it comes to this. Step 3, you retrain the diaphragm with what is called 360-degree breathing. Expansion in every direction, not just the chest rising when you take a breath, the entire rib cage. This is part of what nobody really does. And it's the part that makes everything downstream stick. And when the diaphragm starts to move freely, again, the psoas stops overcompensating. And when the psoas stops overcompensating, the QL stops being the guy to go to for what the nervous system is looking to latch onto. And for the first time in months or maybe years, your low back stops screaming. And this is the sequence. This is why the order matters. And following this order, you'll end up living a life where you can move more freely and not in constant discomfort. Now, before you do any of this, you need to know where you are in the shutdown sequence, because the entry point is different for everyone. So we're going to go to a couple tests over this way. Test number 1 is a breathing test. So we're going to lie on our backs. You're going to put one hand on your chest, one hand on your belly. Take a really deep breath. Now, if your chest rises first, there's the first cue. Your diaphragm is offline, and that's your entry point. Test number 2 is the Thomas test, and we're figuring out the psoas length here. So you're going to lie at the edge of a table, pull one knee to your chest. If the hanging leg rises off the table, your psoas is shortened on that side, and that's your driver point. Now, test number 3. You're going to stand on one leg. You're going to hold a light dumbbell or kettlebell in the opposite hand. If you can't hold still for 20 seconds without your torso shifting towards the weight, your QL is already compensating as a lateral stabilizer. So whichever test breaks first, that's where you start. You don't need to fix all 3 at once. You fix the top of the cascade and the bottom resolves itself. Now, this is the overall picture. The shutdown happened in order. The restart works in reverse, like I've been talking about. And the entry point is almost never where the pain is. If you've been grinding through generic, physio, generic core work, or just managing pain instead of solving it, this is exactly why. And the work I do is called athletic restoration. It's a diagnostic process. Me as a coach finds your exact entry point in the shutdown cascade, and we build a sequence backwards from there. There's no guessing. Everything is a system, and it's understanding how the system works together to get you moving more freely. Now, if you want to know where you are in this cascade, send me a DM on Instagram, Restore. I'll send you a 3-question diagnostic that tells you exactly where to start outside of the 3 tests that I just broke down. And if you're interested in one-on-one coaching, there is a link in the description to click below. I don't accept everybody. You have to qualify for the coaching, and we can hop on a call to go over where you are now and where you want to be. And for me, I want you to be moving pain-free as you should and move more freely without having to worry about the next step or what's going to happen next in terms of pain and discomfort. So again, link in the description below. Click, let's schedule a call and get you moving pain-free and find your purpose again.